The year that I wore Jester shoes. It's time to talk about that one, boys. I've noticed lots of you have been asking, Ben, why do you wear jackets in your videos? It looks stupid. If you want the honest answer, it's because it's damn cold in this house. I can't afford to have the heating on all day, unfortunately. So a jacket will have to do for now. When it comes to shoes anyway, I have had some big troubles over the years, mainly caused by two things. The first one being that my feet are incredibly narrow. If any of you out there have got really narrow feet yourselves, you know it's pretty hard to find a lot of shoes that fit, because you may be able to get loads of shoes on your feet, but tons of them will just rub them to bits. I have the second narrowest feet that I know, and the only one that beats me out is my own sister. And the second issue that I've had really is that my feet are different sizes. Not just by a fraction, by almost 2 shoe sizes difference. Maybe I've got some weird ass mutation, I don't know. But whatever it is, it hasn't made things very easy. When I was younger, I pretty much had 2 pairs of shoes. I had the school pair and I had the casual pair that just did everything else. I want to start at high school because that's the age really where you start to become a bit more conscious about yourself and where you might have more of an impact on what type of shoes your parents are going to buy you, right? Well, unfortunately, due to my weird ass feet, I didn't have a lot of choices. When it comes to school shoes, there were barely any that fitted. Most of them would just roll around my feet and fly off, or just rub them down to the bone. As such, I had to go for shoes that were really not nice. Generally ones that had a lot of padding around the ankle to close the gap between the shoe material and my actual ankles. Typically the ones that had this feature were the big, bulky, rounded shoes, which on anyone just look grim. Unfortunately for this video, I don't have that many pictures of shoes because it's not really something that you take pictures of. So I'm just gonna find some that are as close as I can find to the ones that I owned. Those big school shoes, they looked something like these, with a sole that would have been suitable for climbing Everest. But with the school uniform, didn't look good. That being said, I was wearing such baggy school trousers at the time, it didn't even matter. In the lower years of high school, I was normally wearing the type of football trainers that were all the rage in the mid-2000s. Essentially, loads of the lads would just wear the AstroTurf trainers as their regular trainers. And those ones, they were hardy, they did their job well if you wanted to play football. But on reflection, at the time I thought they were super stylish, but in reality, it was the opposite. And when I realized that, I thought, you know what? I've got to change things up, let's move to something more stylish. And I still ended up with with Gola trainers. Luckily, I found a bit more success with these types of sneakers because they fitted a bit narrower, and as such they were more comfortable than most school shoes. And honestly, I had the same or similar styles for about 4-5 years, and then when I reached probably about year 11, I started to get a bit more conscious about what I was wearing. Especially when it comes to trainers, I felt like I had to get an Adidas or Nike pair of trainers. Adidas specifically, or Adidas, or however you want to say it. I felt like I needed those 3 stripes. So I pretty much went out and just bought the cheapest pair that I could find. I'm sure I got them from Scott's, which if you're from the UK, you'll know the reputation that Scott's has. They were a garish pair in white, as I always had, never varied from white trainers, with 3 super bright blue stripes down the side. I think I've got these in a picture or 2 over the years, and I was so proud of these. These were like my slick shoes for out of the house, because that's all I had, just the school shoes, and then the pair of trainers that covered everything else. When I moved to college, unfortunately, I went to a horrible college. That was actually even more strict than the school I went to before. So while kids in other colleges were wearing their own clothes and stuff, we were stuck in a full suited uniform. The head teacher at the college, who was also the head teacher of the whole school, she was like Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter. So if you've seen that, that was essentially her. Completely obsessive about uniform standards as well. One thing that I noticed, however, about this uniform in comparison to the one I'd been wearing at regular school was that the guys, they were wearing different shoes, man. They were wearing stuff that looked like a spear on the bottom of your foot, with much more pointier shoes than I was really familiar with. Because at high school, lots of guys, they were just wearing stuff that was really quite rounded. But when I moved to college, everyone seemed to be wearing these shoes with the pointed toe. Now, you will have seen videos on this YouTube channel before about shoes where I normally recommend slightly more pointed styles. Generally, those look better on most men. They can make you look a fraction taller, and they look better than big, bulky, rounded shoes like those that I was wearing at high school. But the guys at this college, they seem to be having a competition about who could get the pointiest shoes. And I saw this and I thought, I need to hop on this trend. If I want to look stylish, if I want to get the girls' attention, must be my shoes. So against my parents' wishes, I went out there, got a pair of shoes that looked like spears on my feet. And these felt alright, but they weren't enough. Some of these guys were having shoes that were pointier and pointier. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was some weird ass sort of alpha male statement thing that was going on. In reality, on reflection, it's just stupid. And there were other parts of my uniform that were far worse than my shoes. But I started seeing shoes cropping up that kind of reminded me of those spy shoes, the ones that have the built-in knife in the end because they were getting so sharp. So for the next pair, I wanted some that were even pointier, even if it meant totally sacrificing the quality of the shoes. And as a result, of course, these wore out super quick. And I had that problem where the front of them gets pulled away because they were lower quality. That being said though, at this age, my feet were still growing a bit. I wasn't going to go out and spend tons of money on shoes anyway. But they didn't look great. They ended up making me essentially just look like a jester, with the super long shoes that were completely out of proportion with the rest of the outfit, and I had loads of excess on the end. And I was kind of okay with this because at the time I felt like these styles were the best for my feet. I mentioned earlier in the video about how my feet are all over the place when it comes to sizes, and this meant that these pointier styles were kind of better for me because naturally they had lots of excess room around the toe area going forward, which my bigger foot could kind of slide into, and I could still have quite a small size to fit around the ankle. And it was only when I went to university that this sort of thing changed much. Now at uni, obviously I didn't have to wear any sort of uniform really, which on reflection was great because I needed some improvement when it came to casual style, especially when it came to footwear, because when I started university, I still basically only had one pair of shoes. I started looking at what other people were wearing. I realized that going into certain bars and clubs, they weren't gonna let me in all the time with white trainers. So I'd have to try other stuff. For some reason, I always wanted to wear this particular pair of brown boat shoes. This is also at the time when my trousers were getting skinnier and skinnier, as I mentioned in one of the other videos. And as such, I wanted the shoes to kind of reflect that. So I went for some boat shoes that were a slightly different style of boat shoes. They were quite narrow ones, they weren't bulky at all. And you might think, that's fine if you're wearing that, during the summertime with your shorts and that. I was wearing these all year long, in the freezing cold, in the pelting rain, with full length jeans. Sometimes it just looked a bit weird. That being said, they did fit my narrow feet well, so on reflection, wasn't the worst, certainly not the best though. I also experimented with some different types of high tops as well. That's something that I'd never really tried before, but I wanted to look hip, I wanted to look cool. It didn't end up making me look cool, it just ended up making me look like my legs were even thinner because I had narrow feet, really, really skinny legs at the time, and then I had these big, bulky sneakers on the bottom. Didn't look right, it looked like I was dragging a club around with me. I was quite lucky that by the end of university, I came to work in a shoe shop for a while. So I was exposed to loads of different types of shoes, and as a member of staff, I had loads of discounts to use on shoes, some quite substantial ones. So I was able to experiment with lots of different styles and find some different colors as well that I actually like to wear. So I was wearing more different types of leather shoes and also leather sneakers as well, rather than the fabric ones like the Converse that I've been wearing at university too. Shout out to Converse here, by the way. I don't think I've found a narrower pair of shoes ever. My feet are wafer thin, yet they're still really tight in the width, even if I go up 2 sizes. I don't know whose feet they're aiming to please with them shoes, but it's something to bear in mind if you've got really skinny feet, they might work. Anyway, that kind of takes me up to the point where I'm at now. I've made loads of mistakes, possibly more than other guys, just through being super conscious about my appearance when I was younger. These days, I'm a lot more into different types of leather shoes, some slightly higher quality ones, and also different types of boots as well, because if you can find some boots that fit you really well, especially when it's in a wet climate like here in the UK, they can be quite versatile and useful. If you haven't seen any of the videos yet in this series, I'm going to link them in the iCard above. There's some good laughs to be had there for sure. And I'll also leave them in the end screen. If you want to see some general style tips videos from my guy who's made every mistake in the book, please press like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on the next one.